is TCE and why TCE and when do we TCE? How do we TCE? What does it feel like when we TCE? What does it feel like when we don't TCE?
So, tongue controlled embouchure is a way to start to integrate what's going on inside the mouth with the tongue, with the outside and the muscles and all the athletic stuff that we try to do to get high range and low range. And it allows for smoother integration, for more stamina with the actual outside facial muscles.
TCE is the idea of using tongue levels. It's actually may even be better called a tongue levels. And if this is the front of the mouth, the tongue moves up, forward, and up. We're controlling this tongue level to do different things. So, for example, if the tongue goes back and down, is what happens. If the tongue goes forward and up, you get a hiss. So you think of it like a much more sophisticated version of the thumb on the garden hose. And when we get those high notes, the high notes need a thin stream of compressed air in order to really sound. And we can't just achieve that with the lips alone. We have to achieve that with our thumb on the garden hose. And TCE refers to all of that. So the first thing that we like to do, or that I like to do, is establish the flat shelf tongue. So let's all review alligator, alligator jaw. Yeah, Pat. Uh-huh. And the tongue is just hanging out, flat in the mouth, flat in the bottom of the mouth. And you might notice that it's just so easy to breathe in friction free, right? You can add some blows with a nice wide open aperture to allow the air to flow freely out. That's the basis for what we call the spit buzz or the forward buzz, is keeping that tongue shelf down and forward so that we can get an easy buzz with no throat constriction. Sometimes, especially habitually, decades of horn playing, I might feel a little tension creeping here, like a kind of feel, and it's the opposite. It feels like really free, really open. I'm like, I feel powerful and I feel open, and the air is moving through the lips, and it's like there's no obstruction here. For some reason, the image of an airplane wing comes to mind for me. Something that you can do to relax the back of the tongue is raspberries. As you do your raspberry, it's like you're sending a message to the middle and the back of the tongue to just relax down, and all the way down even to the pelvic floor, to the abdomen, to the pelvic floor, to the root of the body, base of the spine. Everything relaxes down. That gives you the feeling of a relaxed back of the tongue. You can't have tongue levels unless you know where the the floor is. That's the floor. Then, as you know from our studies of the tongue zones, we can raise the back of the tongue, we can raise the middle of the tongue, we can raise the front of the tongue, we can move things around in there. It gets a little complicated. I tend to think of vowels as our best guide for this. That said, vowels are so analog, and sometimes it feels good to be digital. Like Eli Epstein talks about floors on an elevator, and he's like, yeah, a third space C is like floor 12. A middle C is like floor 6, or floor 3. A pedal C is like floor 1, floor 2. A high C is like floor 20. And you feel really where they are. What's neat is that we have the harmonic series as well, which are individual discrete notes. And so you can start to connect your sense of the harmonic series with your sense of discrete tongue positions. So let's go ahead. You all know the TCE concepts right now. Let's start on a middle C and just do TCE singles on them. So we're going like this. do it again. So 1, 1, and 2, and 3, and done is what we're going to do. Really feel the tongue and the kick. We're minimizing the outer face engagement because we're maximizing the contribution of the tongue to changing the note. Let's go up the next harmonic. Great, let's add another harmonic. Keep it easy. Excellent, excellent. So let's now go ba da 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 and feel those levels coming to place. Each time you do it, I'm going to invite us to do it 3 more times. I want you to get easier on the face each time and more like the tongue is doing it. And what I'm going to add is that my tongue, it feels like it's almost creating like a tunnel as I ascend, so that it may be that the edges of my tongue are curling somehow. I don't actually know. We can't sense the tongue very well. But what I sense is that the stream of air is getting smaller as I ascend, just a little bit smaller and less wide. So you might try and sense into how that's happening for yourself as well. Yeah, tongue smiling. That's a great term for it. Let's do 3 more on the F horn harmonic series. Now we're going to go to a very foreign harmonic series. How many of you practice on F1, 2, and 3? So who knows what's the intonation problem with F1, 2, and 3, or any 1, 2, and 3? Yeah, it's sharp. What do we do when something's sharp? When a note's sharp? Nelson?
You move your hand, close the bell off.
Move your hand, close the bell off. Rod?
Relax your chops.
Relax your chops, okay? Myron Bloom really laid into me on this when I studied with him. He said, that note was sharp. You know what we do when a note is sharp? And I was like, oh, hear it more in tune? Like, open the hand. He's like, no! Pull the slide! If you've got a fingering combination that's living sharp, the first thing to do is pull a slide. Then you don't have to change the tone or the resistance of the horn through adjusting your hand, and you don't have to manipulate your chops. You just play right down the center of the tube, which is our favorite thing to do as horn players. So when we're doing F1, 2, and 3, well, we don't want to just, if we're doing other valve combinations, what can we do? We just pull that third slide, and you can pull it basically all the way out. It's still gonna be even a little sharp. I like to pull my first slide a little bit too. So let's just see what happens if you play a regular F sharp. And then without your slide adjusted, try and play that F sharp F1, 2, and 3. It's a quarter tone. So let's go in between on your horn and figure out how you can make them the same. What slides you can pull until you can go back and forth between F2 and F1, 1, 2, and 3, and they sound the same. And like Jack's saying, you can manipulate the hand position a little bit, But notice that introduces some analog uncertainty, right? You're never going to get your hand quite in the same place, but the slide, you move it, it's in exactly the right place.
There we go.
Yeah,
They're
there you
like
go.
this, really far out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Mine are all the way out. I'm worried they're gonna fall out actually from gravity. All right, cool. So let's do some harmonic series now on the lowest, longest tube of the horn. F1, 2, and 3. Who's willing to give it a shot to sing back exactly what Rod played? Yeah, Jack, I knew you want to sing it. Go ahead, unmute yourself and sing it back.
Hey! Da.
Almost. Play it again, Rod. That was great, Jack. It was close. Yeah! Let's give Jack a hand. That's hard. That's hard. That's some quarter tone. That's not even
Yeah.
quarter tones. It's like a
Like-
13
Like
cent.
sharp B flat.
It's a sharp
or a
B
B.
flat, a flat C, exactly.
Yeah.
So what's cool is this pattern of these funky notes is valuable to get to know. This is an intimacy with the harmonic series that we want to cultivate. And when we do it in the low tubes, it's not so taxing on the face. We don't have to think about our high range when we're doing it. So let's go ahead. We're going to start on F1, 2, and 3 and go up 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 2 and 3, 1 and 2, 1, 2, and open. We'll go up. All right, so just follow along. 1 and 3. Two and 3. One and 2. One. Use the TCE. 2. F horn open. All right, so in the ideal scenario, we'd move the slides every time for every valve combination to be perfectly in tune for that phrase. In the real world, use the hand as a second line of defense. Use the chops as your final line of defense. But for example, in this one here, where we've got this line here, I challenge you to try and play that, to lip that in tune, you know? Like it's gotta be a hand and valve combination. We're gonna dive right in to number 1 here. This is super easy. So when you see T, that means the B flat horn. When you see O, it means the F horn. And so we're not gonna use our normal fingerings for these. We're just gonna move between the B flat horn and the F horn and really focus in on using that TCE to make the note changes. So I'm gonna play it, and you just play along with me, okay? So here we go. 1, 2. let's do it again a little bit faster and with a little bit more conviction now that we've broken the seal. All right. 1, 2, 1, 2. Who knows what we're going to do next? What does this unlock for us, Rod?
Upper semitone?
You can't. You can't go up a semitone. You can't because the B flat horn's the highest possible horn that we have unless we have a triple horn.
Okay, so down the semitone.
Down a semitone, exactly. Because we're not using any of this middle valve section right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to engage the middle valve section. We're going to add that first half step of tubing and do the same thing between T, B flat horn, F horn, B flat horn, F horn, B flat horn, F horn. But we're just going to have the middle finger down the entire time. So just have that middle finger down and play along. Start with and we start B flat. All right. 1, 2. Let's do one more. We go down a half step. We'll just do the first valve now. 1, 2, 1, 2. Good job! We're on the idea of just playing melodies, pushing down the fingering, and playing for a little bit on that fingering, right? So the second TCE Mini Etude is going to expand on that by using a number of our different available harmonic series. So let's go ahead and play it. We'll take it nice and slow, and this is the, first try through. We'll see what we can do. I'll lead it. So it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, and go. Yeah, I want to do it again. All right, little 1, 2, 3, 2, 2. Woo! All right, yeah. Let's take it waltz tempo now. Yum bum bum, yum bum bum, yum dim dim, yum bum bim bum. 1, 2, 3, 2. So let's now, this third one is very difficult. Well, it's not very difficult, but it's got some tricky things. So when I uh, look at something like this, does anybody know what practice strategy might be extremely helpful here for a piece like this? What I'm getting at is that there's some tricky stuff here at the end. Um, so let me annotate this with a. There's some tricky stuff here at the end. There's some tricky stuff here at the beginning. What I like to do for something like this, maybe I'll play it through once, but then what I'll do is I'll work on it from the end. So let's play through it together and see what's most challenging, then we'll work on it. So we got quarter equals 80. Bum ba wa dee da wee. Ba dee da da da. Yeah, we're gonna chunk it just in a second. So the first, let's just play through it and see where it lies though. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready. Anybody nail it? Nope. Yeah, it's tough. So let's just start with I would like to start from the end on the 1, 2, and 3. Everybody find your C sharp. I find that grooving it, really getting it in my head, how it sounds, just repping it a few times is really useful. And of course, since the next 4 things are all sounding the same, just up a half step, I'm starting with that. So let's try it on 1 and 3 now. Yeah, yeah. And just kind of let your neurons do their thing. Well, the next one should be easier now because we know what it sounds like. So already, let's find that C sharp again and see if we can chunk a couple of these in a row. Woo! Let's do that again. We have one more. Starting on E. So let's all get that elephant fall. This is one of those cool things that really highlights your TCE your level, like the opportunity. Because when you really use TCE for this, the notes just kind of naturally slot, and they don't like, they're not like all ambiguous. They like really slot if you do it. But if you're using other mechanisms to ascend, it may get more grainy or unfocused, and then the harmonics don't pop out as smoothly. So if I'm using TCE, and you hear it just really ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum, because I'm using TCE. But if I don't use TCE, it sounds more like that. Cool. So let's back up to the C sharp in measure 32. And see if we can get all these things. We'll start on the downbeat of measure 32 with a half note C sharp. And then we're going to play all the way from 32 to the end. So nice and slow. 1, 2. Woo! Tricky stuff. The only thing I want to point out here, this is just something that takes some practice to nail this etude, is that the very beginning is also a really fun place to work on coming up from that low range and getting focused into the mid range. And that A is a funny A. Because it's on the single left horn. So that lick is your opportunity to stay in good TCE, good habits, good easy zone as you go from pedal F to A at the top of the staff. Otherwise, it's just a question of practicing it slow, getting it in your head, and then working from the end so that it feels really easy when you start. So now for a sort of a chaser, something a little bit easier, we're going to do Amazing Grace. And this is a really cool arrangement. It's maybe not what you're expecting because it changes keys and stuff, but it really works. So again, T means the B flat horn. 1 and 3 is F, 1 and 3, 1, 2, 3 is F, 1, 2, and 3. Let's make sure our slides are pulled and we use our hands correctly. And I'll play through Amazing Grace and invite you to play along with me. Nice and slow. 1, 2. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Peter Del Grosso, for an awesome etudes.